Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome back to the Alan Wake Nightmare difficulty walkthrough. We are still in episode 3, so I kind of mentioned in the last video how I did something differently here. Usually what I like to do is I like to dedicate one video per level. So, you know, if the game is divided into chapters, I would do video 1 is chapter 1, video 2 is chapter 2, so on and so forth. But sometimes for certain games, there are levels that are just very long. I'm talking anywhere over an hour usually is my limit, where I like to split the level into 2 videos instead. Because I think it just makes for a better viewing experience, because if you think about it this way, and again, not everyone shares my viewing preferences. You know, I typically, I don't like to sit down for long periods of time and watch really long things. That's one of the reasons I don't watch a lot of movies, because if you think about it, the average length of a movie is an hour and a half, so 90 minutes. The average length of a primetime television show is about 50 minutes. And even that is kind of long for me. So if I had to sit down and watch an hour and a half long video, chances are I wouldn't do it. Because that's just not what I care for. Then again, other people, you know, some people really enjoy when they watch something, they just want to sit down and watch the whole thing, whether it's 20 minutes long or 2 hours long. And so who knows, some of you may prefer longer videos, but I know that, you know, for me, I prefer to watch not that long of videos, so that's the type of video that I tend to produce. All of this is completely irrelevant. All you need to know is that this is the second half of episode 3. And I'm actually going to start off pretty sloppy here. So I'm about to engage in a fight right now. You'll see there's a propane tank in the center of the map. There's a big guy. I'm going to try to shoot the tank to damage the big guy. Unfortunately, that didn't really do anything. It did kill the little guy, but the big guy hardly got scratched, so I'm going to have to take this guy out the old-fashioned way. Now, right there, I do not agree with that. I don't think that attack made contact with me. That seems to be a pretty common theme in this game. Oftentimes I'll be kind of far away from an enemy to the point where it looks like I actually wouldn't have taken damage, and I end up actually taking damage. But anyway, now I have these 2 guys kind of rushing me. I think I'm going to take one more hit of damage before this is all over. Yeah, so there we go. Pretty sloppy. Again, if this were, you know, if this were explicitly a walkthrough, I would have re-recorded this fight. But since this game is so old and I'm treating this more as a playthrough, I figured I would just leave it in there, because there's obviously not a huge demand for people trying to beat this game on Nightmare Mode. The game's been out for so long. And then, not to make excuses, but one of the reasons... Oh yeah, so after you kill all those guys, there's going to be some poltergeist objects. Now, I talked about some strategies to take these things on in the last video, but typically the way you want to take on poltergeist objects is while you're shining your flashlight on them, you want to try to stand behind something, so like a corner of a wall. That was incredibly unfair. I did not know that was there when I turned that corner. But notice how, as I'm shining my light on this thing, I'm kind of standing behind the train, and I'm standing at an angle that allows me to still hit the object with my flashlight, but not be open to its attack. And that's kind of crucial for destroying those poltergeist objects. Again, that's something you'll see me doing countless times in this video especially. But anyway, yeah, so not to make like excuses, but one of the reasons you're going to notice that this level or this video starts off a bit more sloppy is because I did not actually play... I didn't play all of level 3 in one go. So I actually, I played up to the first half, and I knew that that was going to be where I stopped the video. So I played the first half of the level, and then I stopped, and I actually didn't get another chance to start playing again until about 2 days later. And believe it or not, this is a game where if you don't play it consistently, it does take a little bit of getting used to, and that's kind of what happened here. I hadn't played in 2 days. I just jumped right back into filming the walkthrough, and as you can see from that first fight, I had a bit of a tough time getting my bearings. That'll improve as the video goes on, obviously, because I get familiar with the mechanics once again. But anyway, little trick here, there's going to be a couple poltergeist objects inside of this train car. So you actually don't want to go through into the train car, because then there's nothing to help you fight, like there's nothing to hide behind to block you from the poltergeist objects. So instead what I recommend doing is standing on the roof of the train car, and you'll see that these objects are just flying around like crazy. And if you stand in the proper position, you can actually shine your light on it. Right there, I tried to shimmy around the side of that ceiling door, and I just accidentally fell off. That's okay. Just go ahead and climb on back up and resume doing the exact same thing. It might take a little bit longer because you do have to wait for the object to actually fling across the train and get into position. But again, like you see right here, you know, it lines up perfectly. Again, it takes a little longer, but this is definitely the safest way to eliminate these objects. There's only 2 of them, and then you'll be good to move on. And you're going to come to this area right here. For the moment, you will have nothing to worry about. And now we're going to come to a part of the game that they could have made incredibly difficult, but it ends up being very, very, very easy. Basically, you have to get over this fence, but the fence is currently being electrified from that downed telephone pole. So what you're going to want to do is get inside of this Jeep, and there are going to be a lot of enemies. I almost called them haunted from the evil within, but there's going to be a lot of enemies in this large open field. And so you're actually just going to want to ram them all with your Jeep. Now, the only danger here, this entire section is very easy, assuming you keep your Jeep intact. If your Jeep takes too much damage, it will go up in smoke and you won't be able to use it anymore. And trust me when I say you do not want that to happen. So all I'm doing here is I'm just kind of driving from side to side. I'm ramming about 2 or 3 enemies with each pass, and then I'm just making a U-turn and doing the exact same thing. Very, very simple here. Not a lot of skill involved, just some reckless driving. But yeah, you're going to want to make sure you run over each of them just to kind of make your life simpler. And there we go. So that's the first half of this part. Now you still need your Jeep to be intact because it's going to be even more important for the second half, which gets a lot harder because as we return to the fence, there's also going to be, so there's not only going to be enemies, there's going to be poltergeist objects as well. So go ahead and step into the light. That will trigger a checkpoint. There are some resources right there for you to pick up. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the electricity in the area. Now you'll see that that fence becomes accessible. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to hop inside the Jeep. We are going to sprint very quickly, so you might have seen a cut in the video there because you'll get a checkpoint at this location. And check this out. I'm going to hop inside the Jeep. I'm going to stick to the left side of the map here because there are poltergeist objects in the area, and they are pretty big. I'm going to drive straight up to this fence. I'm going to ram the guy that's blocking the fence. I'm going to get out of the Jeep, sidestep this guy, hop over the fence, and voila. You just bypassed a very crowded and difficult part of the game without firing a single shot. Very, very simple strategy to get past that section, and again, it all relies on keeping the Jeep intact. If your Jeep gets destroyed in the first part, just go ahead and restart the checkpoint because you need that Jeep. It's going to make your life so much easier. And now you're going to come to this area here. Get ready. A couple enemies are going to emerge from this location right here. Easiest way to take them out is probably with a flashbang because you'll see there are a couple and one of them is a big guy. So right there, I just kind of panicked. So I popped a flare, and then I followed up with a flashbang. Notice, too, how because of where I was standing, the enemies kind of all cowered into this adjacent room. And so all I did was throw the flashbang into the room, and then because of the close proximity, it was able to destroy all of those enemies in one shot. So, pretty useful thing there. That was intentional, believe it or not. Even though it looked like I just panicked and chucked a flashbang out of nowhere, it was intentional that I threw it into that room because I knew that the close quarters would eliminate all the enemies. Now we're going to come to a very similar problem here. You can notice all the propane tanks in the area. A bunch of enemies are going to spawn. Instead of using the propane tanks, go ahead and use another flashbang. And you'll see that because all of the enemies kind of grouped together nicely, I was able to eliminate, I think, like 5 or 6 guys right there with just one flashbang. So very useful, very effective. Make sure you do that. And again, it all kind of ties in with what I talked about in the first half of this level. You know, I placed a lot of importance on conserving your flashbangs because those are easily the most important resource you possess, especially moving on into the second half of this level, because the second half is just it's a lot more difficult. a lot more. So anyway, I do apologize for not being very consistent with the upload times of this walkthrough. For those of you who might be new to the channel, what I usually do when I do a walkthrough for older games like this is I like to make it a continuous series, and so I upload basically one video every day until the walkthrough's over. And usually I'm pretty good about that, because usually what I do is I film the whole walkthrough in advance, and then I just set a schedule where I upload one video every morning. Make sure you pick up those flashbangs. Right now, I'm kind of in a weird spot. I'm wrapping up my last semester of the physics degree. So I'm applying to all these grad schools, I'm studying for finals, everything like that. Pretty standard fight here. There's just going to be a lot of enemies. It's kind of hard to run past this fight, so I do actually recommend just sticking it out. But try to save your flashbangs. If you need to, you can use a flare gun, because there is a lot of flare gun ammunition in this level. But really, you could just take all these guys out with a standard flashlight and pistol. Shouldn't be too difficult. But anyway, so like I was saying, I usually just upload one video a day until the walkthrough is over. But right now, I'm in a very difficult spot. I'm applying to grad schools, I'm doing homework, I'm studying for finals, and I'm trying to do this walkthrough on the side, and I just have been very stretched for time. So I haven't been very consistent with my schedule, and I don't know when I'm going to be posting chapters 4, 5, and 6. I honestly don't know. And so I do apologize for those of you guys who are, you know, eagerly awaiting this walkthrough and really enjoying it, that I'm not being very consistent. I definitely apologize with that, but hopefully you can understand that I just have kind of a lot of other things on my plate right now. But I will finish the walkthrough, that much is guaranteed, and obviously I'll probably finish it in the next couple of weeks, but it's just I only can record when I specifically have time to do so. And then you got to keep in mind, sitting down and doing all the commentary takes a lot of time as well, so it's just a little difficult right now. And you know, a lot of you might respond to that with, well, why would you start a walkthrough if you know you're not going to have time to upload it consistently? The reason I did that was because I finished my Call of Duty walkthrough. That was bullshit. I finished my Call of Duty walkthrough on like November 9th or 10th or something like that, and my semester is over on December 8th, and so that's kind of a long gap, you know, that's about a 4-week gap, and I thought, you know, I don't want to let my channel go stale for a month. I better do something, and so that's why I started the Alan Wake walkthrough, because I figured I needed at least one walkthrough to fill that time gap. And I knew when I started it that I probably wasn't going to be able to do it all consistently, but that was just kind of a price I had to pay, because I didn't want to let my channel grow stale for a month. But trust me when I say that once this semester's over, I have a lot of awesome ideas to bring to the channel. A couple video ideas that aren't necessarily 100% video game related. Or I guess they are, but like I had an idea for a video. Oh, so check this out. Actually, I'll get back to that point, but you're going to see all these construction lights in the area, and this is actually a pretty tough fight that, if you do this properly, you can make this fight very simple and save yourself a lot of ammunition. So check out what I do here. I'm going to make my way through the forest. I'm going to turn on this construction light, and what's going to happen is there's going to be 3 enemies that spawn. And I'm going to try to turn on every construction light. So you see here that construction light is actually already damaging these guys, and once they get damaged, that will stun them for a couple seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on this light as well, and now I'm going to walk backwards, and I'm going to keep my light trained on these 3 guys, and I'm actually not going to kill all 3 of them yet, because what you'll notice is once you kill all 3 of them, that will trigger the next wave of enemies to spawn. So I'm going to kill him now, and now I'm going to make a run for it, because I've already made it far enough. I'm going to run to this light here, and as you go to turn on this light, a ton of guys are going to spawn, and we're not going to fight a single one. We're going to turn on the light, that will stun them all, and we're just going to make a dead sprint for it up this hill towards this light right here, and yeah, it's incredibly easy. There was like 6 or 7 guys right there, and we did not have to fight a single one because we are smart, and that's what we do. So, anyway.
The dark presence was moving ahead of me in the same direction I was going. A cold feeling settled itself in the pit of my stomach. Was it going for Alice?
So anyway, you'll notice now we're in like a graveyard looking area, and this is I guess I would call it the graveyard boss fight. There is kind of a mini boss in this area. You don't actually have to kill him. He's not that hard to kill, so you can do it if you want to, but just know that it's not 100% necessary. So you're going to make your way up. You'll notice how I'm being a bit timid because I didn't know when he was going to spawn. But here you see that's the mini-boss. And with him, there's going to be two quick guys. The normal quick guys in the Adidas jumpsuits. And they're going to kind of rush you. So what we want to do here is we want to kill the two little guys first. That way we can solely focus our efforts on the mini-boss. And you'll see the mini-boss is basically doing exactly what Carl Stuckey did in Episode 1 and what Rusty did in Episode 2. He just moves around very quickly, kind of like a blur, and every once in a while he'll get close enough to you to where you can actually stun him with the light and whittle down that darkness. But he just moves around a lot, and so it actually takes kind of a long time to get rid of all his darkness. So what you can actually do is you can just go away, Roman Warrior 325. I don't even know who you are. You can actually just run through the graveyard and kind of keep your light trained on him as you move, so that you never actually have to fight him. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to fight him, and then I realized, this is just taking too long. I'm just gonna start making my way through the graveyard. Now he's behind me. Oh no, he's not. He's still in front of me. But now he's behind me, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say, screw it, I'll just walk backwards, keep my light trained on him, and I won't even have to fight this guy. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. So this is kind of funny, I end up getting through the graveyard, and I could have kept moving, but the problem is I knew there was a Nightmare manuscript somewhere nearby, but I just didn't know where. So I thought I accidentally missed it, so I turned around to go look for it, and when I turn around, the graveyard guy ends up chasing me, and so I ended up killing him anyway, even though I didn't have to. I could have just kept moving. So keep in mind, if you're having trouble with this guy, you don't actually have to do what I'm doing here. You don't have to kill him. I only decided to kill him because it was kind of an accident. But there you go. You can see he's really not that difficult to take care of. But the whole reason I turned around right there, again, because I knew there was a Nightmare manuscript somewhere after the graveyard section, and I just didn't know where, so I thought I missed it. But you'll see I could have ended up I could have kept on moving and never had to have fought that graveyard guy, and I would have been fine. But you can see the Nightmare manuscript is at the end of the path right here. And there are 3 total for this level. Again, this isn't a walkthrough to get all the manuscripts, but everyone's, if I happen to pick one up, I'll make sure to point it out just in case you happen to be playing along. You can do the same thing. Now, the next Nightmare manuscript is actually going to be pretty close by. That was bullshit. That's not even that object wasn't even possessed. It just hit me. But anyway, as you move up this path, you'll see that these objects do become possessed. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I've been doing. I'm going to back up, and you'll notice I'm standing at an angle so that the house protects me while I'm able to shine my light on the car. And there you go. So again, I mentioned it in the last video, but the #1 strategy for defeating poltergeist objects is just to make sure you're standing in a good location. And I'm going to show you another good spot to stand in for the next wave of poltergeist objects, because there are going to be a number of them coming up. Alright, so first things first, there is going to be, I mentioned, another Nightmare manuscript pretty close by. Again, what I'm doing here is I knew it was close by, but I just couldn't quite remember where, so I had to think about it for a couple seconds, and then I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It's in this barn up ahead, and then little old intelligent me could not figure out how to get in the barn, and then I realized, oh, I should probably go around it to where there's an opening. That would be the smart thing to do. Now, as you make your way on the correct path, again, there's going to be a number of poltergeist objects that try to block your way. And so what are we going to do? We are going to stand in smart locations. So I'm going to kind of back up here, and I'm going to use the legs on this water tower to kind of protect me, and I'm also going to use this downed train car right here. So first I'm going to get rid of this object. I think it ended up hitting me because I was just barely not quick enough, but that's okay. Now you can see the other object is actually stuck on the other side of this train car, so I'm just going to kind of stand right here, and you're going to see that the object starts flying at me, and it's not able to get through this narrow gap, so I basically am in the clear right now. Another thing you could do is if you stand on the other side of this train car... Oh, never mind, it did get through the gap, but I'm okay. Another thing you could do, and you're about to see me do that in a couple seconds, is you can stand near the edge of the cliff, and when the objects come flying at you, you can sidestep them, and the objects have the potential to actually fall off the side of the cliff, and that will be an instant kill. So that's what I'm going to try to show you here. I'm going to run over here behind this rock to provide me some cover. And now you see I'm going to stand near the edge of this cliff here. There goes one object, and you can see it just went right over the edge, bright white flash of light, and that was kind of the indicator that it ended up going off the edge. Now this other object, I'm just going to stand behind this tree and, you know, keep on it with the light. There you go. Very simple. So again, #1 strategy, choose the correct location to stand in. Now there's one more object right here. I'm going to stand near the edge to try to get it to fall off. I don't think that ended up working, but either way, these giant rocks on my right should provide me with plenty of enough cover to eliminate this thing without any danger. And voila. All right, and we're gonna have one more fight at the end of this path, I believe. I could be. This is a long level, so I could be mistaken. I could be mistaking it for another part. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot going on in this level, but no, this is the part I was thinking of. So we're gonna have to fight another poltergeist object here. And this one's going to be kind of hard because you can see that it has an orange ring around it. What that means is that you can only damage it by focusing the flashlight. So that means we are going to have to use a bit of the batteries here. So you'll notice I still have 20 batteries, but I am actually going to have to reload this thing with quite a bit of batteries because you do have to focus the flashlight to do damage. Again, notice how I'm using the trees and the rocks to provide me with cover. That was not cool, but there we go. So I started with 20 batteries. I finished that fight with 16, so I used 4 batteries. And now we're going to have another one to deal with. Now, again, you should have plenty of cover, so it's not really the cover that's the problem here. It's the battery life, and again, that's why I've been recommending this whole time that you try to conserve battery life as much as possible, or not battery life, but batteries in general. If you really needed to, you could probably run past this. I don't recommend it, but it probably is possible. And so, because you can see what will happen is, with those two guys out of the way, there's this shed over in the distance, and inside of the shed is a key. And that key opens the door that we need to go through. But you'll see that when you actually go to unlock this door right here, so right now I'm going to unlock it, it actually does take Wake about 5 seconds to get the door open. So you probably could run past those objects without taking any damage, but I just recommend toughing it out and killing them. I will leave that up to you. You'll see there's a couple batteries right there that you can pick up just in case. There is a hunting rifle right here, but I actually I like the shotgun more, especially because I picked up the pump action shotgun, which can carry more shells than the regular shotgun. So I'm actually going to stick with that weapon. I don't even think I really end up using it that often, but I still prefer it over the hunting rifle. And now we're going to continue along the path, and from this point on, things are pretty simple. That was probably the last hard part of the level. So anyway, I'll get back to the point that I mentioned earlier, some other ideas I had moving forward with my channel. So in December, one video I'm going to make is my channel update for the month, where I talk about what I'm going to be doing for the month. I'm going to announce the contest winner for the contest that I announced a couple weeks ago for someone to design a channel art banner for me. I got a submission for that I really liked. So I'll be announcing the winner and officially uploading that art to my channel. I will be releasing a new channel trailer to kind of bring about the year 2018. I have a couple projects in mind in terms of older games. So one thing I've been wanting to do for a long time is cover every Resident Evil game. The only games I have on my channel right now are Resident Evils 4 and 7. And I've been thinking about redoing my walkthrough for Resident Evil 4, but I want to do something special. And so I was going to put out a little, viewer poll to see what people would like the most. If they would like just a standard walkthrough, if they would like a Let's Play, maybe they'd like a no damage walkthrough. So that's something I'll put up there to see what people would be interested in. Another video I thought about was, I talk a lot about how I used to be really big on trophy hunting and achievement hunting. So I actually do have a pretty high gamer score. My gamer score, I think, is over 60,000. And then in terms of trophies, I have 15 platinums. I just got over 1,000 trophies. That might not seem like a lot, but I haven't had my PS4 for that long, and I don't play it that often, so it is kind of a lot for the amount of games that I do play. So one video that I thought about making was kind of just a little thing where I show you guys my achievement library, kind of show you the games I played and everything like that. Especially because in terms of achievements, I have had my Xbox account for like 6 or 7 years now, so I've really racked up a lot of games on that account. Whereas PS4, I don't have that many games to show for. But those are a couple videos that I thought about making. Another video I thought about doing was kind of a behind-the-scenes MTV Cribs type video where I show you guys my setup. I show you guys my editing setup, my monitors, my computer, my gaming collection, everything like that. So just different things like that to kind of share more of my life with you guys instead of just commentary and video games. But again, I'll be talking about all of this in my December update, which those are videos I like to do at the beginning of every month to kind of talk about what I have planned for that month on my channel. Now we're going to approach a pretty hectic fight here. Easiest way to get through this fight is either with flare gun or flashbang. I'll leave that decision up to you. One thing I highly recommend is you do want to make sure you have at least 2 shots in the flare gun for the last fight of the level. There is a lot of flare gun ammunition in this level, and I think I ended up finishing with like 7 extra shots. So you could choose your flare gun, choose your flashbangs. Either way, what you're going to want to do here is this big guy's going to crush through the door, and there's going to be a number of little guys that ambush you. So what you want to try to do is you want to try to use your flares to kind of herd all of the enemies into one area. The reason you want to do that is so that you can kill them all with only 1 flashbang. You're going to see that ended up not quite working out for me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to throw another flashbang. You can see there's 2 enemies near each other, so I'm going to throw 1 flashbang over there. That'll kill those 2. Now I'm going to throw another one over there. That'll kill those 2, and that's all. So 2 flashbangs to get through the room. Could have done it in 1 if I had a better positioning, but at the end of the day, again, I've been talking so much about how I've been conserving my resources, and so that's why I didn't mind spending 2 flashbangs right there, because I knew I could spare them. Now again, if I needed to, I could have also used my flare gun ammunition. The only thing I recommend is that you have at least 2 or 3 shots for the flare gun saved up for the last fight in the level, because those will be very important. So, a small bit of good news that I just checked. I just got an email from my TA in my Quantum Mechanics 3 course. So, at my school, Quantum Mechanics, it's taught in 3 courses, 1, 2, and 3. You don't have to take all 3. You actually only have to take the first 2, but I wanted to take the 3rd one for fun. And we had a very, very difficult exam the other day. It was actually on my birthday. I had the exam on my birthday. And we just got our scores back. And so the funny thing is, if any of you are familiar with an education in the hard sciences, particularly physics, I would say, my grade that I got on the exam is a 22 out of 45, so about a 50%. And everyone's first instinct would be, wow, Nick, I thought you were smart. That's a terrible grade. You're stupid. And so the funny thing about when you're studying physics, and you quickly come to learn this as you get into the upper division classes, is it's not the grade that matters. It is the relative placement in your class. So it's basically how you performed relative to everyone else. Did you do better than the average or worse than the average? And that's typically where I fall. So typically I actually do get A's on my exams, even on the hard ones. But in quantum, the exams are just so unbelievably hard that I hardly ever I don't think anyone actually gets an A. So my grade, I just got an email from my TA where she told me that the grade is a good amount higher than average. So that means that, you know, if you consider the curve and everything like that, I will have probably like an A or A plus on the test, which is good news, really good news. But yeah, it's funny how that works out. As you get into upper division physics, there come certain tests where you get like a C or a D, and you say, oh wow, that's pretty good, because you know the rest of the class did even worse. And it's just a funny feeling, because everyone's first instinct, if they see that they got a C or D, that's like a very alarming occasion. Especially because in no way am I trying to brag here, but typically I'm a straight A student. In fact, I am a straight A student, and so I remember in my first quantum class, I got a D on my first exam, and I just I'm very, very, very kind of anal about the grades I get, and so when I first got a D on that test, I was very upset, and then I found out that it was still better than everyone else. I ended up finishing the class with an A, and I was like, wow, I had nothing to worry about. So it's just funny how things like that work out. And again, none of this is meant to brag. It's just kind of, it's just fact. That's just how things work, and that's how I've done in my education so far. All right, so this part is kind of annoying. Flashback to Chapter 2, we're going to have to fight a couple waves of birds. Now, you don't have to actually kill the birds here. You just have to survive long enough to get across this gap. But if video games have taught me anything, it's to always hate these ski lifts and gondolas and whatnot. I think my first exposure to this was in Resident Evil 4. There's a part where you have to go up this ski lift, or like gondola ride, and there's enemies throwing axes at you and whatnot. That part's actually not very hard, but then in Evil Within, in the first Evil Within, I'll never forget, in Chapter 11, was it Chapter 11 or Chapter 10? I'm pretty sure it was Chapter 11. There's a gondola ride, and on Akumu mode, that part was hard. That was really difficult. Now, one thing you'll notice I'm doing here, which was kind of stupid, was I'm using my flares to defend against the birds, but I'm accidentally dropping my flares, and so they're actually falling through the gratings on the floor, and that's not helping anyone. So what you want to do instead is, if you do pop a flare for defense, make sure you hold it instead of dropping it, because then it will last longer. That was just kind of a stupid thing on my end. But overall, that part's not really hard. I would say it's just more annoying than anything. I would argue that the birds are the most annoying enemies in this game, because they just take so long to kill. But anyway, once you get across the gap, there's going to be two quick guys right here. So go ahead and make sure you take them out. Standard flashlight and pistol should do the trick. Now you're going to make your way up this hill. Make sure you don't get crushed by that train car that just seemingly came out of nowhere. And continue your way along the path. Go ahead, and there's some resources in here if you need them. Get the checkpoint when you step into the light, and I believe there is only one more fight to deal with, and this is a fight that has the potential to be game-ending, but if you've been listening to me so far and conserving your flare gun ammo and flashbangs, this fight should present no problem at all. Now you see the fog rolling in. That's usually an indicator of enemies about to emerge. Here they come. I'm just going to kind of make a run for it here. Again, I'm trying to save all the resources I can, especially because at this point I only have one flare. Now I am going to get more flares before that final fight, but I still wanted to just be safe here. So I'm going to resort back to the good old strategy of walking backwards, and you can see the light is right here. So not a very far run. No point in fighting those guys. Just go ahead and make a run for it. You should be fine. And now we're going to keep on keeping on. So it looks like there was one. This is one part I forgot about. This part can be pretty tough. You're going to start crossing this bridge. And once you're halfway across the bridge, there's going to be one big guy that spawns behind you and a couple little guys in front of you. And so what you're going to want to do is rush the little guys in front of you. So check this out. This is hard. This is kind of a hard fight. I wouldn't say that there's any particularly perfect strategy to approach this. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to stun this guy in front of me. I'm going to take him out as quickly as I can, and then I'm going to haul ass across the bridge. I'm going to run up, turn around, and now I'm going to start killing these guys like usual. Here come the flashbangs. My first one ended up kind of missing the big guy, which is a shame. I threw it a couple seconds too late, and he was able to hit me, which sucks. But here we go. Second flashbang should do the trick, and it did. So overall, that's not very tough if you follow my advice of rushing the little guy in front of you. And all you want to do is just make sure you get off the bridge before you encounter the big guy, because it's really hard to fight him while on the bridge. And you see there, the only reason I took that damage is because I was a bit late throwing that first flashbang. If I had been just a bit quicker, I wouldn't have taken any damage in that fight. So that was just on me. And chances are you can do that better than me. So go ahead and try. But anyway, now we only have one more fight to deal with. And again, this is the fight where it's kind of the fight we've been leading up to this entire level. The whole reason I've been saying you want to conserve ammunition. But even with that in mind, I found a way to get through this fight a bit easier than I did on my initial playthrough. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to be in this house, and to get out of the house you have to go up some stairs, and that's the only way out. Now on my initial playthrough, I did not go up the stairs until all of the enemies in the area were dead. But what I found is that even once you kill all the enemies, more enemies will spawn at the top of the staircase that you're trying to escape from. So what I found out you can do is while you're killing the first wave of enemies, you can actually run up the stairs, and that will eliminate the future waves of enemies spawning, and it makes your life a bit easier. So again, you'll see exactly what I mean by that. But I found a way to get through this fight very, very easily, and most of it just relies on using the flare gun ammunition that I've been saving this entire time. I don't think I've used it yet, which I could have used it, but I haven't. So you're going to come to this room here, and you're going to go up this staircase right here. Now this room that we're in now, this is the room that the fight is going to take place in, and then the staircase at the end of the room, that's the staircase that you need to use to get out of the fight. And so like I said, on my initial playthrough, what happened is I killed all the enemies in the room, and then more enemies spawned from the top of the staircase. But if you go up the stairs while you're fighting the first wave of enemies, you won't have to fight the future waves of enemies, which is very, very good to know. So anyway, you're going to go up the stairs, and at first everything seems fine. Nothing is going wrong. But what's going to happen is the roof of this building is going to collapse, and you're going to fall back into the room below. And so what I'm trying to do here is I was trying to get tricky, and I thought maybe if I take the correct path, I could get around this part without actually falling down through the roof and potentially skip this entire fight. I don't think it's possible, though, because to do it, you have to get around this little wall, and you could see that the second you step foot around the corner, the roof goes down. So here we go. Here's what you're going to want to do. First, you're going to want to use a flare to get to the staircase. So I'm going to run over to that staircase, I'm going to pop a flare, I'm going to get up those stairs, and now I'm going to turn around and equip my flare gun. Oh, I'm going to throw a flashbang because why not? Now I'm going to throw another one. Now I'm going to equip the flare gun to finish off the job. You could see I have freaking 9 flares left to shoot. That is just an insane amount. I only needed 1. And there you go. And so again, you'll notice that because I was standing at the top of the stairs, once I killed all of the enemies in the room, that was it. There was no more enemies that spawned. However, if you're standing in the room while you kill those enemies, that won't happen. You'll actually have to kill even more enemies. So that's a little useful trick there. Make sure you stand on the staircase, at the top of the staircase, while you're killing them, and you won't have to fight any more waves of enemies. And there you go, guys. That'll be the end of Chapter 3, Episode 3. It's a long episode, but we are finally at the end. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you get the chance. You're going to continue on to the end of the path here. That will trigger the ending cutscene, and then I will join you at the very end of the video for the usual sign-off. But yeah, episode 3 is fun. It's pretty long though, so hopefully you guys enjoyed how I split it into 2 separate videos. But anyway, here we go. Go ahead and watch that ending cutscene, and I'll see you at the end of the video.
We don't know where she is. She's probably drowned.
Alright guys, that will do it for episode 3, or I should say part 2 of episode 3. We are now officially halfway through the game. So again, remember the game is only 6 episodes long, so we only have 3 more to go. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think of the game and of the walkthrough in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you get the chance, and I'll see you in episode 4.